Sufganiyot for Hanukkah. You don't have to be Jewish to love jelly donuts. As a matter of fact, I bet all of you who are watching who aren't Jewish say, you know something? I love jelly donuts. What if I told you that these homemade jelly donuts took about 15 minutes of work that was basically stirring? Then the standing mixer does some work. Then you let them proof for an hour and a half. You cut out some shapes, you fry them, you stuff them with jelly. Super, super, super easy. And here you have a homemade jelly donut that is going to thrill and delight your family. Absolutely delicious. Stick around, I'll show you how to make them. Step one in our jelly donut making process is we have a half cup of milk heated to about 110, 115 degrees. We're gonna add a teaspoon of sugar, just enough to feed that yeast, and 2 tablespoons of dry active yeast. And we're gonna stir that up. And we're gonna wait about 15 minutes until it's nice and foamy. If it doesn't get foamy, it means your yeast is dead. Or maybe you started with cold milk. Okay, so it's been about 12, 14 minutes. I've got 2.5 cups of flour, and I'm gonna dump that into my standing mixer. And my standing mixer has the paddle attachment. And what I'm gonna add to that flour is really simple. It's my salt, the rest of my white sugar, my brown sugar, my 2 tablespoons of butter, my foaming yeast. Think that's foaming enough? I got some nice yeast, man. Don't worry, if you've never worked with dry active yeast before and it's kind of clumpy at first, don't sweat it. Because as it gets active, it's gonna loosen up like crazy. I'm also gonna add 2 beaten eggs. Gotta beat those eggs. They just incorporate better into this yeasted dough. So yummy. Eggs. Then I'm going to lock this. Super important. Lock that. Make sure your bowl is on nice and tight. I've really actually seen some pretty bad injuries here, broken fingers, broken wrists. And all you want to do, because there's a lot of flour in there, is start very, very low. It immediately compacts right away. I'm one of those people that likes the option of adding a little bit of homemade vanilla extract. You know, teaspoon or 2. And I can see right away that my paddle attachment has combined the dough ingredients. Turn it off. Literally that quickly. And then take all my dough, and you want it kind of sticky like this. This is like absolutely perfect. We can always add another tablespoon or so of flour while it's kneading. I somehow don't think we will. Well, maybe. I mean, it's cold and dry out here in Minnesota in December. I just want all that dough preserved, and I'm going to use my fingers and scrape down and flip. And I've got, I don't know, a big soft ball of dough, nicely mixed together. What's next? We need to knead this. And so we're gonna stick this with our kneading attachment, right? Our dough hook. And I'm gonna put this on medium and just let that knead away for about 7 or 8 minutes. I have a giant steel bowl, and I've put about 2 teaspoons of oil in it, and I've smeared it all over the bottom. Big bowl. And now I'm gonna put my dough beautiful kneaded dough. And what I want to do is I just want to pull it off this hook. It's nice and shiny and tight, comes off perfectly. And there's some dough in the bottom. I wound up putting about a teaspoon and a half, maybe 2 teaspoons of flour in there, mostly to make up for the moisture from the vanilla. I'm gonna get my plastic wrap and I'm gonna wrap this tightly and put it in a warm place, which is the back of my stove. I'm gonna put it there for like 90 minutes until it's about double in size. 90 minutes has passed. Look at this. Unreal. Unreal. And because we put the oil in there, we can literally take a little bit of flour and sprinkle it here on our silicone board. Now, a word about silicone boards. My island here that I cook on is shosugiban. It's black. I have an inset flush with the edge of the shosugiban for my boost block boards. But I have these, $3.99 silicone mats that I can work on when I'm flouring or butchering seafood, and it's great to order whole bunches of these. And all we want to do is just throw down our dough, and I'm going to flour this other side, and then I'm going to take some of the flour from the silicone board or the silicone sheet, and there we go. And I don't know, we just want it's gonna puff up, but there we go. We have, I don't know, somewhere between, a quarter and a third of an inch. A little bit more flour on there. I want you to notice behind me, I already have my pot of oil cooking. I already have my pastry bag ready to do some filling, and we're gonna have to make some kind of coating. Some people like to use cinnamon sugar, some powdered sugar, some make a boiled dressing or just a glaze that's not cooked at all. All those tips are in the recipe, but this is kind of crucial. You should always have a ring set. I should show you that, you have a set of rings. This one is, 2¼ inches. And all I'm gonna do is just line up my slices. And what's gonna happen is when I put these into the oil, they're gonna puff up. As they fry. $13.7 is 20. And I still have all of this trim. And I'm just gonna knead this together. I'm not making one big donut there. Let's see, I bet I get 3 out of here. There's a donut. There's a donut. And there's a donut. There's my donuts, 23 of them from this batch. Not too shabby. And by the way, just so these don't dry out, we'll just cover them with a cloth. All right, so for the donuts, you're gonna need to get your jelly in there. You can use a squeeze bottle, sure, but you know, for a couple of dollars, you can get a lifetime's worth of these plastic pastry bags. For a couple of dollars online or at a sale at a cooking store, you can get a box of pastry tips. I have one there that's about the thickness of a pencil. I don't want too much going in and have it get out of control. I have some nice raspberry seedless preserves. Gravity will do the work for you. You need about a cup for those 20 donuts. So I just stir that. I can always squeeze whatever I don't use, right, back in to the jar. And I'm just gonna take a rubber band or a little piece of kitchen string, and we will tie this off, and then I will be able to insert my tip into a little slit that I make in the donut and fill them with raspberry preserves. Oil is about 360, 375 degrees. And we just want to slide these donuts in. Some of them have poofed much bigger than others. Now they're not cold, so you don't want to crowd the pan, but they only take about 40, 60 seconds on each side. You just want them brown on each side, and I happen to have a cooling rack here. And all we want to do, flip these over. Go another 40, 60 seconds on the other side. Don't worry about ones that don't poof up as much as others. Believe me, they are just as delicious. And I like them this size because they're, I don't know, they're kind of what? It's a 2-biter, maybe a 3. How great is this? Oh! By the way, you'll love this dough, and you can use these for all kinds of little dessert treats. You can use them as beignets, just cut them in squares or just make them a little smaller. All right, the donuts have cooled just a little bit. Take your donut, take a small little utility knife, and just make a incision on one side and an incision on the other. That way the pressure of the jelly has somewhere to go. If it squirts out anywhere, it's going to be out the other hole. The other important thing is just to start psyching yourself up to not overstuff them. Like dumplings, like ravioli, like so many other stuffed goodies around the world that we like to eat. The only mistake that you can make, oh, here's a cute little one, is overstuffing them. Shall we start filling? So I've got my string, I've got my pastry tip, and all I do is put my tip into the little slot that I made, and then I push, I don't know, a teaspoon into there, something like that. I mean, it's plenty of jelly. Remember, there is sugar in this dough recipe, so they're sweet, but I like sort of holding on to the donut and pushing the requisite amount of jelly, jam, preserves in with my finger. By the way, or using my fingers. By the way, you can, if jelly's not your thing, homemade lemon curd. How about a chocolate hazelnut spread or just chocolate? How about marshmallow fluff, peanut butter and jelly? And I'm just pushing a tablespoon of jelly in at a time. After a while, you could sort of feel the weight. You know, I make these twice a year for Hanukkah, and then once when someone else is like, oh, please make your jelly donuts. By the way, humble brag, one of the great joys of my life, would have made my grandmother so proud, was having my soufganiot on the cover of Food and Wine magazine 8, 9, 10 years ago. So, remember before I was saying you can do so many things to them in terms of how you finish them. Do not glaze them, roll them in sugar, or put powdered sugar on them until they're filled, because then you're just gonna get your hands all over them. Lots and lots and lots of sugar. And there are the soufganiot. That, my friends, is a plate of jelly donuts, suitable for eating any time of year, but especially during the Festival of Lights, our Hanukkah celebration, where the miraculous oil in the lamp, instead of lasting one night, lasted for 8. And so we celebrate with fried foods. Get it? Oil, lamp, fried foods, soufganiot. And when I tell you that homemade jelly donuts taste better than any other kind of jelly donuts, well,